Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and we are about to get our freak on with two writers of not only fan fiction, but original fiction. Do you enjoy paranormal romance? How about something inspired by a little television show called Supernatural? If you also ship Wincest and J2, you might as well grab yourself a beverage and settle in for this interview. Laura Rye and Bailey R. Hansen are co-authors of the A Monster by Any Other Name series. They were kind enough to give Kasey and me copies of the first book in the series, Freak Camp, to read prior to our chat. Book 4 of the series, Fortress, just released September 1st. We are excited to dive into fandom, fanfic, and Freak Camp with them. So thank you for joining us and welcome to the podcast, Laura and Bailey.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting. I'm really happy to be here.
Amazing.
Pleasure.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you.
And as we were chatting beforehand, it is a very busy time because at time of recording, Fortress is not out yet. So we understand publishing and getting all the things ready is a kind of a hectic time. So thank you for like just giving us a moment to just like talk about all of the great things that you both are doing. I wanted to say that we came across you through our interview with Chris, also known as Quick Reaver. And they were like, oh, you've got to know about Freak Camp. And we're like, no, please tell us
we don't
about
know
Freak Camp.
what is happening. We don't know.
And then, Chris was like, yeah, and we found out that Chris has done, I believe this is correct, has done the cover art for?
Yeah, all of it. Including the newest cover coming out.
Amazing. She's great.
Awesome.
We love her. And
you have
we were
no
just,
idea.
She gave us all of these great, oh, you should talk to this person. And I think, Laura, I had reached out to you first and I just asked, if it was possible, we'd love to chat with you. And you gave us copies of the first book to read, which we've both done. Kasey and I did like a little mini book club, like the day before recording, just to kind of talk about our thoughts and put things into some sort of a cohesive question format. I
blew Sandra's mind by going, I have notes, 3 pages of them.
3 pages.
I don't remember if it came up. I don't know if it came up in Chris's interview, but I am perpetually unprepared. That's kind of my thing, is like, I read the documents for the podcast on the day. Usually when we start to record, not like never before. So Sandra was like, you want to get together and talk about it? And I was like, I have notes, so many notes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
Yay.
But I think what we wanted to do is kind of like pull it back a little bit to kind of go back to the beginning. I kind of wanted to get into when exactly both of you got into Supernatural. So Laura, I didn't know if you wanted to go first and then we can pass it off to Bailey.
Let me just say, I'm going to give some preliminary details and let Bailey take over because she's a really good storyteller. Bailey and I fell hard into Supernatural our last semester in college at the University of Evansville. We were roommates 3 of the 4 years, and one of our roommates in the department got us watching first season of Supernatural together, and we ended up I remember when it was episode Faith. That's the one that sticks in my memory. And after that episode, I was like, Bailey, do not watch the show without me. You have to watch it. and then this was 2010. So
okay,
season 5 was airing at that point. And we managed to get our hands on copies of the first 3 seasons. We watched 2 episodes every night and 6 episodes on Saturday.
Somehow graduated
6.
anyway.
And that's how we caught up.
Okay.
6 episodes on a Saturday.
We were that kind of college. All right, I'm going to stop talking. Bailey, it's over to you.
Those are the bones. But yeah, we fell really hard. And again, this is our last semester of college, senior sem. In theory, all the hard classes. We somehow managed to both graduate and get through 4.5 seasons.
Wow.
Yep.
So things. There were a few more papers that got written, 2 hours before they were due that semester than usual. But yeah, we fell hard at exactly the same time. And we both loved really like different aspects of the show, but also Just the incredibly cute boys and the plotting and the humor. Full confession, I stopped watching the show in season 7.
Okay.
So
Okay.
sometimes it feels like Supernatural was this like really toxic relationship I had in college that I still feel fondly, but also have mixed feelings about. Like I love season 1 through 5, and then a lot of complicated feelings after that.
Okay. Gotcha.
And you haven't caught up with it. You just stopped at 7 and you were like, I'm done with this.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I struggled. I assume this is spoilers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah.
we've never actually stated spoilers. It's just expected at this point. So yes, go.
We will not. We will. Yes. No. We will not say anything about anything.
I struggled and then was super impressed by the Solus Sam arc. And then in season 7, I felt like I was watching a villain origin story instead of a hero journey. And just struggled with that afterward. So
Gotcha.
might flirt with it again later. But
so did you finish season 7 at all, or did you stop at like a certain point?
I think I finished 7. I don't think I've watched 8.
This is a funny. We watched season 8 finale together, but she doesn't remember it. So
That's also valid.
I literally have season 8 on my shelf, but I have zero memory of
Gotcha.
I stopped watching early season 9.
Okay.
And so I let me just. I know you have questions in that you provided with us about fandom, and I'm gonna try to not talk forever about this, but in short, fandom is very important to me. It's why I'm alive. Honestly, I've always been hard in love with various series since I was a kid. Supernatural is one of those series. Supernatural, it will always, always, always live in me, and I will always be obsessed with it. But yeah, I have a hard time with half of the canon. Or possibly more than half.
Right.
And it is a bit unusual. I'm not like this with in my other past obsessions or fandoms. When I think about Supernatural, it's with a mix of love, anger, and betrayal.
Gotcha.
Honestly, all fully valid.
Yeah, it is.
When I say that, people often relate to it, even if you did finish watching it, unlike me. And yeah, so when I think about, I don't know, I would be a very certain environment. Maybe with Bailey, I could rewatch any episode, but right now I cannot rewatch a single episode because I feel like if I do, any season, I will pick up a baseball bat and just smash everything around me.
Oh wow! Okay, gotcha.
Honestly, valid, very valid.
And I say that because I love it so much.
It's like you can see the potential. Maybe you can see what it could have been, and sometimes it just it's dissonance is difficult. And I seasons 1 and 2 are what I hold in my heart, and I still love them, and I love them. So I will always love them, and that version of the boys, that version of Sam and Dean, and I still love Wincest so much. It's the hottest fucking thing to me. I recently had a break and I went down reading some of my favorite old Wincest fics. It is still the strongest, hottest thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, I can't handle what they were doing past season 5. Gotcha. And Chris, our friend Quickly talked a lot about it in her episode with you, and I agree with what she said. They made, when you make Dean the hero, you make Sam could be the sidekick or the foil, and he wasn't getting his due. I'm not going to get into that yet.
Okay. I'm gonna hop in. I'm gonna hop in. This question never makes it onto. Well, it is on. It's
happening.
Sheet,
it's happening now because it needs to.
It's always on the sheet for later on, and then I'm like, no wait, I can't wait anymore. So I'll go with Laura first. If you had to pick a Blorbo, gun to your head, and it doesn't have to be based on attraction. It could be based on anything, but gun to your head, you had to pick one of the brothers as a favorite. Who's your Blorbo?
Sam, 100%. I've always been a Sam girl.
That fucking surprised me. Surprised me.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
Bailey, what about you?
I can't do the 100% good, the 100% with the confidence of Laura, but I do fall with Sam. So my
Lord
is when I see a lot of myself in Dean. Hopefully not the damage and the assholery, but the humor and the desire to protect and all of that. but I like writing Sam and hurting Sam and watching Sam the most.
all very valid. I thought you were going to say Sam because you mentioned Soulless in season 6, and I was like, aha, yes, yes. But you surprised me, Laura, because you mentioned Faith, and I was like, that's a pretty good indicator that this person is Dean, like more leaning Dean. But no, wow, Sandra, my table, it's getting better.
Yay, it's getting balanced. It's getting balanced. See, we're doing the thing. We're getting the Sam Blorbos. We're getting the things. I feel like this.
I have so many follow-up questions now.
Yeah, this does put, I think, the writing into a little bit of a different perspective for me. So I think for Laura, we kind of got thoughts on the show, and then Bailey too. Is it safe to say that really it's kind of not love hate, but just that you had your moment with them, like you said, like exes or a relationship, and it's you saw glimmers of greatness, which I think are many in the first few seasons, but then just disappointed. It just wasn't, it's not me, it's you kind of a situation. Is that kind of?
Yeah. Oh, that rings so true. And I would say that seasons 1 through 5 is still one of my favorite shows. And one of the wild things I like to throw in about Supernatural is that it resonates with me a lot because my parents were traveling entertainers.
Oh, okay.
And so the way the boys were raised really resonates with me. To remove the terrible parenting and the monster fighting, and then that was my life. And so I love it. It told a story about that resonated with really personally with the thing that doesn't resonate a lot. But it is just in the later seasons when they're, it's always the next big bad, and they kind of lost a lot of that affection and love and, hey, it's you and me. I mean, they did have a lot of it's you and me against the world, but egos seem to get bigger and kind of interfere with the I love you part.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say because I have an incest squick, actually. So I struggle to read them romantically involved, which is why in our original fiction, they are definitely not related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bailey's not a Wincest shipper. I am the Wincest shipper here.
Okay.
I ship them as a codependent, eternally together unit. I really do. I can't do the sibling sex. I just
Gotcha.
That's valid. Sandra's not a Wincest shipper either.
Although I'm writing for a Wincest Big Bang, so I try to figure that one out. So but no, I think the one thing I've kind of learned more as I've gotten, I think the podcast has had a lot to do with it too, in terms of interviewing different people and what they ship and what they pull out of the show. It kind of just gives me more of a willingness to be open to interpretations or how people see the boys. And I think Kasey's been a big factor in that too. So to me, it's more of just a challenge at this point. It's I want to see if I can do this kind of situation.
I leveraged in some favors. Maybe.
Yeah. There's just a few for that. But Laura, it sounds like Wincest is like your ship. Do you also ship? Did you ever ship J2? And then Bailey, same question for you, since you're not.
No, RPF is not really my thing.
Okay,
I respect it. It's not where I find my joy.
Okay,
I like fictional characters.
Gotcha. And Bailey, if you're shipping, do you have a ship?
Yeah, I'll ship J2. I'll ship pretty much anything. Honestly.
Okay.
I actually have I have a Kindle Vella out, which started life as a J2 fanfic.
Yes.
And
it's really good.
I realized I need the next chapter out because I'm just slow as all get out. And then I realized that I absolutely could not in any world call Jensen short. And then it had to be original fiction right away. But 12 pages are J2.
Okay. Very neat. So I know that thoughts on I want to ask this though. Do you know how the show ends, even though you have not followed it? If there's any fandom, I guess, overlap in your life, do you know how it's ended?
I know general outlines. I read a very high level summary.
Gotcha.
And Quick Reaver Chris is one of my greatest fandom friends, and I sort of like peering over her shoulder while she was talking about it. But and I've heard things like about the 200th episode. I've heard about the musical episode, and I'm like, yeah, if Steve was right, maybe I would sit down and watch one of those someday, but I can't do it on my own. And again, like I think I would die of feelings. Quite literally. And it's just it's a combination of love and disappointment, and it's not even for me fictional stories. They exist in a very real way, in the sense that no matter what happened after season 5, it doesn't change what seasons 1 and 2 are to me, or seasons 1 through 5. The earlier seasons still exist, and they will always exist as they were when I experienced them. So I just sort of I clutch onto them and I refuse to let go, and I just ignore everything else.
Yeah, Bailey,
valid.
Bailey, have you heard also like how it ends, or did you just like stay completely out of it?
I have heard snippets because I'm kind of a fandom junkie.
Okay.
So anything that floats, like the Dean Kastlove confession, obviously, but basically no. The short answer is no. I haven't followed enough.
Okay.
I don't want spoilers, but
yeah. And I guess just back to show. So for the seasons that you did watch, are there any other really favorite characters that stand out to you, Bailey? I'll hit you first with that one, like that you really, really adored on the show, besides Sam and Dean, of course.
I liked, oh gosh, so it's been forever, and then Bobby, obviously, loved. The lady who ran the Roadhouse, Joanne?
Ellen. It's Ellen. Yeah.
Daughter was Joe, right?
Yes.
I liked them. I liked having alive women on the show. And I feel like there was somebody else.
Charlie Bradbury.
Okay.
It was later, and I was neutral. I like her as an actress, but I was neutral on those episodes. I think that was when I was emotionally disconnected.
Yeah, because she did come in season 7, so that sounds around the time when. Yeah. Laura, do you have some?
Love Bobby.
Okay.
Like Red Free Camp, I love Bobby.
Yes, I could see Bobby.
Oh yeah, that was it was hard to change him at all because I love him so much.
Yeah, no, same.
And I'm a huge Felicia Day fan, so I was really excited with it's just like seeing her and having her presence, even though I was no longer really accepting that part as canon anymore in my head. But yeah, the side characters never last very long, do they? They never last long. And I respect STL shippers. I am not one of them. Bailey can tell you, I was never excited about the arrival of Castiel. Did not thrill me. I was like, what is this? This is a show about 2 brothers. What is this angel doing here? I want my 2 brothers. Right. And that's kind of my mantra ever since. I was like, I don't know why this guy's here. Why is it about Sam and Dean? Damn it.
First episode, you were like, I don't like him. He's going to change the dynamic. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Even after that really badass, like, explodey light, shadow wings, I am an angel of the... Even after that, you were like, nope.
I don't... Like, who is this person? Bailey, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I literally remember thinking it's not going to be that much, but Laura was like, nope, don't like it.
Wow. Laura clocked it. Laura clocked it. Okay.
Wow. I'm not a Destiel shipper, and my feelings towards Cass are very complicated at the moment by dint of Misha Collins. We won't get into it. But I do remember watching that first episode and being like, wow, holy shit, that's awesome. Oh wow. Yeah. I love that you were like, nope. No splody light bulb's going to impress me, motherfucker. Get out.
It's funny. This goes back to Bailey's and my preferences and strengths in writing. Bailey writes the fight scenes. She writes the shiny explosions. She's really good at that. I don't care about any of that. I like the emotional connections and the bonds. And so, like there was no shiny angel that was going to disrupt my obsession with Sam and Dean.
Wow.
Totally valid.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that though.
Yeah. I didn't really get into the fandom or understand the depths of it for like quite a while. Like, I mean, we were late to the game, as you've probably heard in the interview, but like getting into it at a certain point and then realizing the dynamics and the shifts and how divisive it can be sometimes, and not just letting people enjoy it based off and or imposing your thoughts and beliefs on what it has to be onto other people can be a little disheartening from time to time. So
it's very important to me. My whole history of fandom, I focus on what I love. Mm-hmm. I don't focus on what I don't like.
Right.
So, and I'm very live and let live. Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
I like Kaz as a character. I like there's a few scenes of just him that I really love in the show, and I like his character development. But yeah, it was just a distraction to me.
Gotcha.
Totally valid. Actually, just because this is on my mind, this is not on the question sheet. Sorry, Sandra, I thought you read them.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
on the subject of not yucking anyone else's yum, both being Sam fans who, like the first 5 seasons are like it for you guys. Do you have any strong feelings on the episode Mystery Spot? Because it's in my mind because me and Sandra just discussed it before you guys came on.
Oh my God, Bailey.
I feel like I do have strong feelings about Mystery Spot, but I don't remember what they were. Is that where it's the time loop where Sam dies every time?
Dean dies every time.
I think I like it. It's been a while, guys. Oh gosh.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Like the absurdity, like the Roadrunner cartoon that edges into tragedy, and that frantic energy. I feel like there is probably something I didn't like, but I don't remember what.
Casey will probably remind you.
I'm up for that, but I feel like I will agree. But like, I didn't hate it. I know I didn't hate that episode. Bugs now, that's it. Wow. But, Mystery Spot, I think at worst I had mixed feelings. Okay. I like some parts.
Okay. What about you, Laura?
Mystery Spot made me feel like how Sam felt.
Yes! Vindicated!
No, I did not enjoy that experience.
Sandra,
Again, what have we just said? Everybody comes at it.
I'm allowed to yuck your yum.
All right.
Contractually allowed.
And that is purely a me thing. That is purely how I experience stories, and particularly when I'm extremely invested in Sam and in Elizabeth Dean, and so I can't read death fic. Like that's just I have accidentally, and it's fucked me up for life. I will never forget those stories, and they were beautifully written, but they will never leave my head. So they're just they're bad for me personally, mentally. So Mystery Spot, I don't critique it in the way that I would future episodes that were just terrible from a storytelling point of view or a character or world building. I don't like it because of how it made me feel, and that made me feel really bad.
It hurts your heart. No, it hurts your heart, and that's Val, because that's Casey's like, how do you not see this? I'm like, I see it. I said, but my God, it's funny in the beginning. How many times he dies?
I have zero emotional distance. Bailey is way more. Bailey is better.
I read the summary again to remind myself, and I'm gonna go with I liked it because it devastates you, and it's that foreshadowing of what you're anticipating.
Yeah,
I think it made me laugh and then ripped my heart out.
I think that's just again, because Casey and I we talk about this show to death. Obviously, we have a podcast about it, but I think one of the great things about the show sometimes is when they do it well, they can mix both of those emotions and just hit you over the head with both, where you're just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I can't believe this is happening. And then, oh my God, look at what's happening to Sam. And
but that's my problem with it, Sandra, is look at what's happening to Sam. It's always the second thought.
I know.
That's always you're like, oh my God, it's so funny. Look, Dean dies randomly in the shower. And I'm like, can we look at the poor baby is
so
going through hell.
Yeah. He's so traumatized. Casey, you and I are on the same page. I can tell it. And also, but the thing about it was, it came up for me when I was listening to your episode with Chris. What SPN was really good at was a lot of Black comedy and a lot of Black humor. And that's something they really excelled at for the majority of when they were good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I was iffy about that episode, and then I found out that Jared really had a hard time filming it, and then I was like, oh no, the baby man. No, we must keep him happy at all costs. He is a baby.
Oh.
No. And then that turned me off it completely. And I yelled about it enough that now when Sandra watches it, she's like, I can kind of see where you're at. I get it. So
it's not going to change my love for it, though. That's what Kasey's like, and I was like, I can't help it. Like, we literally just did an episode and it came back up again. And Kasey knew it was going to come up again. This might be a good segue into actually the fan fiction. Because now I'm curious, because if you guys were watching the show together, did fan fiction start at the same time together? So Bailey, maybe I'll hit you up with that first. When did you start? And again, I'm assuming this, so if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I'm assuming both of you have written fan fiction in the past. Is that correct?
So I rode straight into fan fiction from watching Supernatural.
Okay.
Because Laura is an enabling enabler.
Yeah, I am.
Writing major roommate friends and watching mainlining this show. So I basically started writing Supernatural fan fiction as we were watching it again, end of college.
Okay.
Since Supernatural, I've rolled into Marvel, and then I have been focusing on original projects, but that was my genesis.
Okay.
So some other non-Freak Camp fan fiction out there in the world from me.
Oh, did you have like a pairing that you were you focusing on less explicit stuff, or like what kind of stuff were you writing when you started with Supernatural?
I was usually writing Jen.
Okay.
Yeah. And then occasionally terrible torture porn fics about Sam. So really those were the two options. It was either just kind of narratively driven emotional analysis stuff.
Oh my God.
That is that's quite the extreme, going from like Jen to okay.
Wait. Sorry, interjection. This is all true. Bailey, I should remember. Do you remember your Kitty Chester's fic?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Here it is, guys. This is so Bailey just said she likes to write torture porn, and it's true because otherwise free camp wouldn't exist. But her other extreme is writing this amazing. I forget what season it was set in, like 5 or 6 or 7, I would say 4 or 5 actually. During the Team Free Will era, she had Sam and Dean transformed into kittens, and Castiel had to carry them around in his coat pockets.
Is that still on the internet somewhere? Because I need that, please.
It is at that and the sequel called Kitty Chester's.
It is so cute.
Is it on AO3? Can we get a link to
that? I'm probably going to not say my username out loud.
No, of course.
I'd rather send that to you.
That is lovely. That is lovely. That sounds just, oh man, that's cute.
That's fully Sandra's vibe as well. Sandra do like when they get turned into animals.
Yeah. It's a fun little excursion.
It's the cutest. I need all of that.
Oh my gosh.
So what? Like, no. Wait. I have follow-up questions. I'm gonna read it, but I'm like, was like Sam like a Maine Coon and Dean was like just a normal cat? Then how did we?
How
did we deal with that?
They were color coded according to their trauma. But I don't think I went into like the cat species.
Gotcha.
Sam had, I think like Dean had a little symbol like for this necklace he wore for him on his chest, and like had a little baby handprint on his shoulder. Yes, and I think there's some like little red spots where there were blood spots. So I never went into species. I didn't get that detailed.
Oh goodness, that sounds.
Tell them about Beagle Puppy Dean. Tell them.
I wrote Dean as a baby beagle, like a puppy beagle, and it was a lot of fun to write. It was just
it sounds so cute.
Using magic and stuff like that, and getting him into a situation, and then how he was going to behave as a puppy was very fun. Kasey liked I have a scene where he's getting a wash.
You make me sound like such a fucking pervert. I liked all of it. I just thought that was really funny. is wrong with you?
What did you, because you have a better way of saying it. What did you enjoy? Like, it had you like falling on the floor. Like, I think something that
Was it the bit in the bath or the bit with the hairbrush?
I think it was the bit in the bath that you liked.
Oh my God.
He's this little puppy beagle, and he's been he's getting like a bath in the bathtub, and it's from Dean's point of view, so it's in Dean's head, and he's like, "Wait, where are Hans going? Wait," and then Sandra used the words "puppy prick," and I will never recover from that ever. Ever recover from that. It's so funny.
It was cute though. It's fun to get again. I mean, I think that's why we all write fan fiction, is it opens up a lot of doors to what you can write about. And there aren't any, it's pretty limitless, I think, in terms of that. But that's very cute. Laura, so were you fan fiction? Were you fan fiction with Supernatural first or before? How did that happen?
I go way back. When I was 9 years old, I found my first fandom. My first obsession, because I didn't know what fandom was. I didn't know what fanfic was, but I started reading Animorphs.
Okay.
Do either of you know that series?
I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, for many, many reasons I won't go into. But although it is somewhat relevant to Freak Camp, because they both have themes of trauma behind them. I fell deep, hard in love. And I was writing Animorph fan fiction when I was 9 years old, before I ever got online.
Okay.
And then I got properly into fandom with Harry Potter when I was 11 and 12 years old.
Okay.
And then I was just deep, deep, deep in that, of course, through high school. And then I also, the Hellsing fandom in the anime world, I'm still obsessed with that. And so, Bailey and I had that in common too. We were both big fans of Hellsing.
Okay.
And then Supernatural followed that. So I was writing fanfic, since I was 9. Started doing it intensely when I was like 13, in Harry Potter fandom. And so when I started watching Supernatural, I was like, oh, there's gonna be some good fics about Sam and Dean. I knew it, and I could see the potential of it. So I knew, and again, it was our last semester in college, and I'm just in case if there's any question in your mind, Bailey and I were both really good students. We were never in danger of like failing. We both graduated with honors, so we didn't really have to work that hard by that semester.
Okay,
so it wasn't really like a huge concern, but even still, I was like, oh my God, I cannot go looking on LiveJournal for Supernatural fanfic communities, because I will just like go down the rabbit hole and never come back. But I did anyway, and I'm so glad I brought Bailey along with me. And I know zero regrets. I introduced her to into fandom and got her writing fanfic, and it's been great ever since.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, it's nice to bring somebody into your stuff.
Yeah.
No, you're coming along. You're coming along and doing this with me.
Yeah. And I just want to say something about because fandom is so important to me and so meaningful to me. But at the same time, I know how the ways it's toxic and it deeply, deeply upsets me. Yeah. Basically, everything is good in moderation. Things like, everything can be good, and there also can be bad extremes of it.
Right.
So the bad parts don't ruin the good part for me. So even though I'm not active in Supernatural fandom, I'm still part of that fandom, and I still believe in it, and it's still part of me. I can never turn my back on it. I don't have the personal capacity, and actually, this is why I stopped watching in season 9, because as it started, the Gadriel possession arc, and it was one rape metaphor too many for Sam. Second,
valid. Yep.
I didn't need that, and it was. I could with the way they were writing the boys and their brothers' relationships at that point, I could no longer believe. I could no longer see any version of them happily existing together, even platonically. I was like, there is no happy version of this anymore. They're hurting each other too badly, and that was breaking me. And that was like I would. That's why I had to stop watching, because I could no longer believe in it, and also it was damaging my ability to write Freak Camp. I realized at the point, if I keep watching this, I'm not going to be able, because at that point I was still writing the Sam and Dean version of Freak Camp. And even though that was always an AU where the boys were not related, I still like what Sam and Dean mean to me is so important to me. Aww. Experiencing the dissonance with canon going off the fucking rails. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Check. The dissonance I was experiencing, seeing like canon was destroying the thing I believed in. Canon was breaking my fucking heart, and it was ruining my ability to write about the boys as I believed in them. So I had to step back for that reason.
Gotcha. Kasey and I have talked a little bit about this too, and I think sometimes for a lot of people, there's just it's easy to just kind of treat them almost like paper dolls in a way, and just like putting them into different, like AUs kind of like just do that in general, right? Like, it's, but I always feel like when I'm reading something by an author, I can tell who really is invested in the boys. And I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, because I've talked to it about Kasey, but you can just tell that somebody's in it for the boys at the end of the day. And not that the other, it's an expression of writing, and it's fun to explore, it's fun to be creative, it's fun to do all the things. But for me, the ones that really I remember and resonate with me are the ones that I know they care. They can put them through hell, but at the Kasey, they can put them through hell, but at the end of the day, they care about the boys and what's going to happen in their relationship. And I just always appreciate that. I don't know. And that's, so I get that. Yeah. Supernatural is very kind of like that metaphor of like fish hooks in a jar kind of a thing.
Truly.
Like you pick up one, you just pick up everything. And it's like, it's really hard to separate all of the pieces and parts. And so I can hear the care, that
it wouldn't be so powerful if I didn't love it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my preference when I'm reading as well. Like you can put them a lot of places and I'll go with you, and you can do a lot of stuff to them and I'll go with you, but I have to know that you love them. As much as
I think you can only tell that in the writing, like at the end of the day. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. So then this leads me to, because again, we don't know much about what this is, and the original, I guess, fanfic that kind of like inspired all of this in terms of A Monster by Any Other Name series. Was that the team up that kind of like what started this series? How did that come about?
So Bailey and I finished college in May 2010. We graduated. Season 5 had finished airing, or was going to. No, it hadn't finished airing yet because we had an explosion about it when we finally watched it back at home. Anyway, but so we were roommates, best friends, spent every day together for 3 years. So it was like a tragic. Oh no, we're graduating, going back to Texas and Wisconsin. When will we see each other again? Will our friendship die? And then 6 months later, we started writing Freak Camp together.
Okay.
And I will try to keep this somewhat short, but like reading other fanfics, we were deep in SBN, reading tons, writing tons, and we found some stories that inspired us. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
That got us thinking about it. It got us thinking about a version of that story we had just read and how we would write it.
Okay.
And then it just took off like a stick of dynamite in a very positive sense. We wrote 100,000 words in the first month, and that was October 2010, and we were 22 years old, 22, 23.
Wow.
And
I thought the whole thing would be posted by December.
we did. We were very naive. We thought it was a big bang. We had no idea what we were doing. But here's the thing about, you've read the first book.
Mhm.
That is like, I did very little changing from the fanfic version of that book. Basically, if you change their names to Sam and Dean, it's the same book.
Okay.
I only added a few new scenes around Roger and Leon, who was John Winchester,
Mhm.
and just a few things. But you've basically read the original version of Freak,
because that was one of the questions that we
it has the exact same scenes.
Okay.
The same conversation that Toby and Jake have is the conversation that Sam and Dean had. The conversation, like Roger's role was the same as Bobby's role as helping Jake out. And every major event happened in the Sam and Dean version of the story. And you can also tell because we started writing it during season 6 was airing, because remember that one arc about the Campbells having their
Mm-hmm.
the monsters and their bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So originally the Dixons were the Campbells.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, we could.
Old Dixons did indeed start as Campbells.
Okay.
Yep.
So then I'm guessing since you guys decided to start writing together at Bailey, then it makes sense that they were not related in the story to start. Okay, got it. Because that was a curiosity for me too. I'm like,
that answers one of our private questions that we were like, we're gonna have to read to find more. But now we've answered it. Now I can write that down and go, they are not secretly related. That is not a revelation coming in book form.
And again, there's not a lot of context for saying you have an incest squick is a bad thing. So I would say that supernatural fandom is one of them. Like I feel sad about that, but I can. They're great, but and Laura and I actually we cut our teeth on. We did some Girl Dean stories.
Yes.
Okay.
So we did a couple of collaborations there.
It was always a Girl Dean.
Gotcha.
Different daddy issues. It was very exciting.
It was so much fun. We had a really good time. So yeah, that was our first collaboration. This was the old days of Live Journal. We had our first. We made our first community just for that one verse we were writing about Girl Dean.
Okay.
And so yeah, we started collaborating together that way. And we weren't writing the same story. We were writing short stories in the same universe. That's how it started out.
Gotcha.
Back a little, I'll get a little more specific on what we were reading. There's a lot of stories but not super specific. There's a lot of stories where like character A rescues character B from a terrible situation, right? Like a lot of slavery fics or ABO stuff. And we were reading a lot that was always like, oh, you're out and now it's all magically better. We really were like, that's not realistic. Like, but
that was another question.
Trauma works, guys.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that our book is 100% perfectly how trauma works because like
that would be depressing.
Survive, I don't know. But there's a lot of like we wanted to look at that more realistically and be like, this is damage, and you're not going to get healed by my magic dick, right? So
gotcha. So you said that there was like a big following. Like what was Free Camp like the one that was like the most like reader response? And is that kind of what gave you the idea, oh, we could do something with this?
I'll say, yeah, we were really, I'm forever grateful to Bailey. And we said this again and again. Neither of us could ever write the story alone. It only happened because we both did it together. And it's a huge labor of love. And neither of us could have done it alone. Anyway, so yeah, because of how much we loved it and what we poured into it, it did get a really great following, almost right from the start. And for years, and so we started writing this in 2010 when we were in our early 20s, 22 years old. And for years, people would suggest that I, strip a serial numbers off and publish it. And I always refused. Because they are Sam and Dean. They aren't some random two guys. And also that's not what fanfic is about. Fanfic is not about trying to profit off of it. And I stuck by that. It was and we were wrapping up the story, at least the part of the story we had plotted, because we actually had another part after this. But we wrote 500,000 words over 9 years.
Oh my god!
Obviously, we slowed down during that time period. Yeah, 500,000. So that's becoming a 5-book series.
Right.
Book 4 of which is coming out next week, which is really exciting. It's a really great book, you guys. I can't wait for you all to see it. So Fortress is coming out.
That is September 1st, 2020.
Yes, September 1st. Yes. Oh, thank you, Bailey. And Fire, the final book in this part of the series, is coming out next year.
Okay.
So,
wow.
But we had more ideas planned for the universe past those 5 books. However, it had been 9 years. Understandably, Bailey wanted to refocus creatively on other projects. And we agreed that what we had come to was a really good stopping point. As we approached that stopping point, when we're going to wrap up the story, we were still getting amazing feedback, amazing response from readers. And one of them made the point that they really hoped we would one day publish this. I know I'll say it, the way she put it was, because my God, you're sitting on a gold mine. And that's not what persuaded me. What persuaded me was actually a number of letters we got from other people who survived trauma and what the story meant to them. And I will just say, Bailey had the happy childhood here. I did not. So I write a lot of freak camp to channel my own trauma and my own recovery process. And so, but there are people who went through things far worse than I ever did that wrote to us, and how we helped them. I truly believed at that point that this story that Bailey and I created deserved a wider audience. Like, this should be available outside fandom too, even if it means changing the names. Keep the heart of the story, but I'm really proud of what we did. Like, this is a real story about trauma recovery. And do you remember Skinwalker episode season 1? You do. The end of that episode, I was so excited. I remember the first time I saw it with Bailey in 2010. I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna have like such ramifications." Like, I mean, you know, we're gonna see Sam flinching around Dean while they work this out, but it didn't happen. They didn't pick it up. They never fixed it up. I was like, "Oh, damn it!" But that was like, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the ramifications of the trauma. And the problem with Supernatural over the many, many seasons is it kept hitting the fucking reset button. And it accumulated like all the decades and centuries it spent in hell. And it was no longer, I couldn't wrap my head around it anymore. I couldn't suspend my disbelief any longer. But sorry, I got way off track.
No,
it's okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And that's what it is. It's helpful to me personally. And it's helpful to so many others who've experienced tons of different things in their life, tons of things. Like, we all have, life is it's a shitty, hard world out there. It's very dark. It's very hard to get through. And anything we have in our hands, stories, TV shows we watch, books we can read, anything that helps us get through it, helps us find joy and love again and heal. It's just, that is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And I love that was what kind of convinced you to take it to that next step, is that having people reach out and go, this is you know, touch me, this is help, this is that's awesome. I love that.
And also, it is true that I it's always been my lifelong dream to be an author. Bailey and I went to college with creative writing degrees. Like, this is what we want to end up. So
I was going to ask that, because that was my thinking too. Like, I'm assuming you guys were probably like heavily into like writing anyway, that kind of just lent itself to working together. That was my other question. I thought of, like, wait, what did they go to school for? Writing.
Yes, we were in a lot of the same critique classes and critiquing fan fiction and critiquing show, and just old thought I had is that fan fiction so often fills the gaps where the source media doesn't give you that emotional resolution. Like, thinking about all of the terrible things that have happened to the boys and all of the lovely fan fiction I wrote about them suffering afterward, right?
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. Yeah.
I wasn't even big in the fix it fix. I was big in the, this is how the trauma affected you going forward. Just didn't show it. Like,
well,
like,
I think
coming back from hell. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think so. I think the show is hindered by just the fact that it is like, it's a serial show. So like, you know, you've got to have these sort of like these mini stories within each episode. And you know, I mean, I think the way just, you know, cable television or whatever, it's like, you know, come on, like, you know, we got to move this along. But then,
I know.
Yeah, you're right. They had so many opportunities that you wanted to just see them talking. And again, like, people call them the bromance or whatever, but those are the parts that you want to see more of. Like, you just want to see just an episode of them just talking, and really just like, we always like to call them, like, you know, we need therapy Winchesters, because it's like, if they were able to break that down and really come to grips with what they needed and what they could give each other in a healthier way, it would have been such, they could have gone beyond the circle of just this perpetual loop, you know, kind of like Mystery Spot.
I wasn't interested in seeing them explore new ways for the brothers to hurt each other.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Like, I'm not interested in that show. 0%. No, thank you. Yeah. And I just realized this. It just clicked for the first time. I think, Kasey, the show itself, it became Mystery Spot. It was
Yeah.
Watching Dean die, but metaphorically. Sometimes it was Sam dying. Sometimes it was the brothers and their relationship dying, being killed, like comedically over and over and over again. Like that was torture. No wonder I stopped watching.
Oh, it's all coming together now. Yeah, that is a fair point because you like. I mean, I have finished the show, but you do certainly get to a point where you're like, this is just the same. Like, if you're not going to deal with what you're inflicting, stop inflicting it. You can't just keep going, and it's all fine again, and it's all fine. Like, it's not.
Exactly, Kasey. Exactly.
Yeah.
In the books, we do inflict a heck of a lot of pain. But something that I tell people is that, hey, Toby gets out. Like, I feel like you need to know that this is a happily ever ending.
Yes.
Like, that's the goal we're driving toward. It's going to be pretty terrible getting there, but love will conquer all. But it's just going to find the
and that's another thing that's really been important to me when I'm describing the book to a supernatural audience. I like to tell people we do supernatural in reverse with Freak Camp. In Freak Camp, we front load all the trauma and their lives get gradually better as time goes on, versus having the boys start off like in a somewhat okay place and then see their lives get worse over the years. So we do the reverse of that. So if you want to see things gradually get better and the hurt comfort aspect of it all, that's what we're here for. We're here for you.
Okay.
100%.
That's good to know too, because I was like, oh boy, there's a lot going on, and so and
it wasn't. Yeah, it was. I would not advise that to any aspiring author. Do not make your first book the most difficult to read and have the heaviest content warnings of all of them, because I try to make it as clear as possible. Toby's never going back to Freak Camp. He's never going to be locked up again. Like he's never going to endure the torture he endured in book one. We're not going to do that to him again. So I want that to be very clear to everyone's minds. And also, I try to make it clear you can always jump to book two if you don't want to read any more of book one. You can always start with book two instead.
I could feel the fanfic roots in your notes in the beginning too, of I know. Here's what to expect, here's what to prepare yourself for. Here, we're giving you the happy ending. So I think it was really important to prepare the readers for. And I think that's just something I'm not, I didn't go to school for creative writing, so I don't know, but I would imagine that's not necessarily always how a book opens, or notes are given. It's just kind of here's the synopsis, here's the blurb, go to town. I'm seeing that more now.
I was gonna say that seems to be coming up, especially as publishing is more accessible to people with indie publishing and certainly self-publishing, that those kind of content warnings are becoming more prevalent. And I'm fully here for it. I'll wear my snowflake badge proudly. Tell me what I'm getting into and let me make a choice. Don't draw me 200 pages in and then go, and this, because then I'm like, oh but now I've committed. And if I don't finish it, then I will have brain itch for the rest of my life. No.
Bailey and I were in college only a decade ago. Yeah, there were no trigger warnings in published books, in any paperback books or hardbacks. And I'm really glad to see that changing now. And it is because of, and I deeply respect romance readers, not just in fandom, but everywhere. We know what we want. We're unapologetic in saying, I need a happy ending. I want to know that everyone's going to be alive at the end of the book. Because you know what? The world is a very dark place out there, and I am looking for escapism, and I want these parameters. And it's just, I respect the hell out of that. And I also love it. I also depend on those trigger warnings for myself, because it is just a matter of I need to be braced for it. And Bailey and I have rants about one traditional author who is she's a really good writer, but she didn't tag her books, and I will never read her again.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm I will go find out the dark stuff. I will go read extreme horror and splatterpunk and stuff like that. But I that's a choice I have to make. Yes. I need to know going into that. Don't be like, this is a nice story, and then 200 pages in, be like, and now it's hellacious, because now I'm like,
right? You don't want that.
I if I'm going somewhere dark to be somewhere dark, that's a choice I've made. That's not a choice you get to make for me.
Yes.
coming from, darker fandom spaces, sometimes the trigger warnings are like the incentive list also.
Yeah, sometimes.
They're an ad.
Yeah, sometimes. I will say for all that I like you put lovely content warnings in and things like that. I spent the whole I don't want to say the whole last chapter of the book, but after they exit the gates, let's say, because I'm going to try hard not to spoil. I spent the whole from that bit to the end of the book on the edge of my sofa cushion with my e-reader in my hand going, there's going to be a gunshot. There's going to be a gunshot. That I've seen the Shawshank Redemption. There's going to be a gunshot. And I know that I was like, no one's going to die because there are 3 more books and a 4th is coming out, but there's going to be a gunshot. I was like, y'all had me I was so impressed. I was like, oh God, when's it going to come? Oh God, it's going to happen any minute. And then I turned the page and it was author acknowledgements and stuff. And I was like, wait, what? Where's my gunshot? I was all prepared for it. Fucking hell.
Thankfully, not that kind of book.
Okay. Good.
That was just no. That's not like a that's a praise. You did so good because I was like,
society has written those stories that train you for a gunshot, but I'm glad it was there for suspense and it kept you riveted toward the end. But yeah, I am very glad I didn't write that kind of book. It's not really a spoiler to tell people Toby survives. He doesn't die in the first book. No one wants to read that story.
No, it's fine.
Clear.
It's fine. It's the literal definition of they get in the car and drive away, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But then after reading through the whole book, and I was like, this can't get any worse, and then it gets a little bit worse. This can't get, and then it gets, and I was like, fucking, somebody's gonna get shot. Nobody's gonna die, but somebody's gonna get shot because you don't get out of freak camp. And then they just drove away. And I was like, yeah. Aww. So gold star. I was like, I have to praise you on this because I was so tense.
Thank you, Kasey. That's a huge compliment.
I love it. I love it. Because we do want it to be that catharsis, right? That goes through hell. It's the worst it's going to be, keeps getting worse. And then the relief and the freedom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. Yeah. When you said earlier you had 3 pages of notes as an author, I was both delighted and nervous. I'm
not gonna lie to you. A lot of my notes are like, is this really happening? What the fuck?
I love those notes too. I want to hear all your notes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I can read my notes. But yeah, no, sometimes I was like, why has this happened? And I'm confused about this. And then sometimes I was like, oh God, please let it not be like this. Because I knew I was going to share them with Sandra and we were going to form them into questions and stuff. So I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess my next question, which is going into still the publishing. So if someone's thinking of taking the leap into publishing, reworking a piece of fan fiction, you're in it right now, Laura, getting this one out. But just some, when the decision making, when you said, yes, we're going to do this, did you know what the next steps were? Did you have to, really research?
Yeah, I went from writing fanfic all through high school and college. I wrote a few original fiction stories for my college classes, but then I jumped back into fanfic really fast after graduating. Bailey and I started writing, and then Bailey and I were writing Free Camp 6 months after that, and we didn't stop for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this has always been understandably, Bailey has other focus and creative ideas in her head.
Right.
And I do have other plans, but I'm still obsessed with Free Camp. I'm still obsessed with the story. So that's where I live. When I first started really thinking about it, we were in a more educated place because we just been taking creative writing classes. My stepdad's an author, so we had some idea of what the industry looked like. But although this was pre-Kindle 2010, it didn't even exist yet. So there was no indie publishing quite yet.
Right.
But I knew a little bit. My stepdad has a historical fiction about Vikings series.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he went from HarperCollins to self-publishing it in 2011, and it hit right at the right time because that was the first wave, and he did it really well. So, and I was aware of the problems, there are pitfalls with traditional publishing, and so Bailey and I did more research in 2019, the year when we decided to make a real stab at it. We went to the Willamette Writer Conference here in Portland together. We went to panels specifically about indie publishing versus trad publishing. And what I learned, and then this is still true, trad publishing is really struggling for a bunch of reasons. They keep doing mergers, they keep doing layoffs. They're struggling to survive. So what they all really want is the next bestseller. They want the next book that appeals to everyone. They want the next Eat, Pray, Love. They want the next Star Wars. They do not want a gay romance where underage children are tortured and sexually abused.
I mean, it feels a bit short-sighted to me, really. Like, remember the times, guys. It's 2024.
I know, but understandably, that kind of upsets people. So, and I totally understand that. So yeah, so it was always going to be a hard sell. And then I wanted to retain creative control, and I wanted to, and also the publishing process. And I had an idea of how it works because of how my stepdad did it. So I was willing to go the self-publishing route. And because you keep so much more of the royalties, 70% versus 17%.
Wow.
So there can still be reasons for an author that trad publishing is right for them to pursue. It's really important to get all the information and to know why you're doing it. Why do you want to get published? What does success look like for you? And just get a full realistic picture. Because even growing up, pursuing this as our full-time career idea, going to college for it, we still didn't know all the hurdles that there would be. Like, I mean, and exist. Even if we did get a trad deal and say there was even a Barnes & Noble was willing to put our Freak Camp on the bookshelf, it may not stay there for very long because that's just the way it goes. Books are published every year and they don't stay on bookshelves. That was a very long answer.
No,
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Bailey, did you have written original fiction? Did that kind of fall in line with around the time you and Laura were considering, releasing Freak Camp? Like, what came first in that situation?
I'd say that I only have one original fiction kind of out in the world, which is that Kindle Vella Starbound, which has its origin, and it's not done yet, which is irritating. I've always been writing other things kind of on the side. So I'd say for the first 3 months of our Freak Camp fever, I was 100% Freak Camp and or hurting Sam and other fiction. But while we were writing Freak Camp, I've written a novella as like a fantasy adventure novella and working on Starbound and have another thing. So, I mean, I'm fickle is really the thing. So had a lot of different pieces in the works. I'm leaning toward self-publishing for a lot of the pieces I'm doing for some of those same niche questions. Like, again, Starbound is an Omega-verse space romance.
Okay.
And that's a weird niche, and that I'm not taking commentary on in like from a fit publisher sort of thing. I feel like I might have lost the actual question at this point, but and I think I have forgotten the question. Maybe that answered it.
Just like in terms of like the original fiction and what's kind of like been going along like parallel to Freak Camp. No, that's good. No, you got it.
You got it. Also, not me already having your Amazon page open. Because I'm going to inhale that.
It's great stuff. It's really fun to read. Highly recommend Bailey's stories.
Amazing.
So I know
not finished yet.
That's okay. That's okay.
Casey's patient. Casey's patient. Don't worry about that. In terms of the fanfic readers, because you said that people were very much like, you need to do this thing. This should get published. Da, 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 da. Did you bring them along for the journey? Were there like updates? How transparent were you? Like, also, when did you figure out, oh my gosh, we're going to have to take this off of AO3? And then, like, how did you brace your following for that? Because I think that would have probably been a big thing for them.
So I was the one who really decided, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna publish an original version of this. And so I took on that entire mental task and all the steps involved. I was so excited about it, and I still am. I did all this. So I love to learn, and I am and so this is my lifelong dream, to become an author. And I love to collect data. And so I started learning all I could. But what are the steps involved? And one of the first things I heard was, you need to start a mailing list. You need to start collecting get people to sign up for your mailing list so you could email them, and that lets you connect with them whenever you want on your own terms. Because if you're writing on AO3, your account could get banned at any time, or any kind of social media, maybe you get deplatformed. So the best and surest way, this is still true for any author out there, start a mailing list like on MailerLite, not MailerChimp. That's worse. Start a newsletter to collect your fans. And you're doing them a favor, you're doing yourself a favor. Let yourself be able to contact them when you want to. So I knew we were going to do this as we were finishing up the last part of the current version of the story, which is book 5. So as I posted each update on AO3, I added a link to the mailing list to sign up if you want to see about the future of Free Camp, or if you're interested in more Free Camp stories, you can sign up here to stay in contact. So with every chapter, I included that link, inviting people to connect if they wanted to get more Free Camp stories.
Okay.
But because I am a child with fandom, and I grew up all my development every year of my life, I know exactly how it feels when an author removes a fanfic that you love. I know exactly how that feels. And it's heartbreaking beyond anything. And even though I took their choices, but I did not want to do that to my fans. I did not want to do it. And in fact, I didn't do it until almost 2 years after the book 1 came out.
And it didn't get flagged or anything like that? Like nothing came up?
No, I left the Sam and Dean version on AO3 locked. So you could read it if you had an account.
Gotcha.
Log in, and you could read it. And it was almost 2 years after the book 1 came out. Only then. So basically, I gave everyone 100 million times. I told them, like, download this, download this, download this. And I said, if you email me and you tell me you once read it and don't have it anymore, I will send you a PDF.
Gotcha.
I can no longer send to people who haven't read it. I'm sorry to say, for distribution purposes, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But I am a fangirl. I am always, at heart, I am always a fangirl. I know how that feels. I do not want to deprive anyone, because I know what fanfics mean. Including like, they're not the same as when they get published. Like, there's a certain version of a story that was told when you read it at a vulnerable time of your life. It just changed you, or it saved your life, and you need to have that version in your life, and everyone should be able to have it. So yeah, I was extremely, basically I lost sales. Like, I could have made more money if I didn't do it this way, but I wanted to do it this way.
No, that makes sense. And like you said, if you're caring and understanding about what that means to a fan, then that's important. It sounds like you took the high road for that. And like, just it's gone. Yeah.
And I had zero desire to inflict the kind of pain I had gone through when I lose a story. Get that 404 page when you try to look up a bookmark.
I'm very curious about the mailing list part of it, though, because I would have assumed being that AO3 would have clocked that in a way. Okay. Like, so did that get you into any trouble?
No, you can't sell it. You can't link to your Amazon page. I eventually did get I had a link to freecamp.com in the series page, and that just got clocked. And I had to delete that. So I never ever said buy. I never said pre-order. I never said anything like that. All I said was, if you want more Free Camp stories, sign up here.
Gotcha.
And then eventually we ended the Sam and Dean version of the story, so it was no longer getting updates from my mailing list. Then I made the announcement, "Hi guys, I'm writing an original version of the story. If you want to join me in this journey and stay involved, stay up to date, you can help me contribute. You can be beta readers. I give them a choice to contribute." So I brought them into the process, because that was also my point. I wanted to gather all the fans so that they could be part of the process, and they could be there for the next version of the story.
Yeah. How often did you keep them up to date, through the mailing list?
Once a month. Okay. And that's actually the least often you should do. It's recommended to do every other week or once a week. For many reasons. I've kind of been on the one a month train for a while, but I am going to get back to every other week or weekly. And there's amazing books for other authors out there. There's a book called Newsletter Ninja by Tammy Labrecque. Highly, highly recommend it. It's a short book, but it gives authors the perspective. Because like when I first started thinking about a newsletter, Laura, why are you going to clutter people's inboxes? Like, why are you just going to, that sounds like awful. But she explained it in these amazing terms that make me understand, like, okay, you are a rock star to your fans. They want to hear from you. They want to know what's going on. You're letting them, so bring them into the process, treat them well, let them have a part of the creative process, let them be part of the journey, let them feel ownership of it. And they'll be with you to celebrate every step of the way.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really
awesome. So I wrote a little synopsis about Free Camp, but I feel like it should come from the authors. So I don't know who wants to tackle that. If they want to give like sort of a synopsis of Free Camp, like just the first book, who wants to take a stab at that?
Bailey, can you do it?
Free Camp takes place in a world where supernatural creatures are known. There was like a 9/11 style event that revealed that these monsters have always been in our midst. And the US government did what it does often, which is freak out and create solutions that are maybe terrible. So they build basically a concentration camp for monsters called Freaks, the facility for the research, elimination, and containment of supernatural.
Oh my gosh, you get a sticker.
Gold star.
I think I was the acronym person, so it's in my head. I think I've also, or the notes entered my brain subliminally. But called Freak Camp for short, for logical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And our main character, Toby, who started as Sam, enters that facility when he is only 5, for reasons that are pretty mysterious for the first book. And on the other side, we have Jake, who is the son of a famous hunter. His dad is a hunter, a whole family thing. And they meet in Freak Camp. And that meeting changes both their lives, and they basically save each other in different ways.
Oh, now,
and it's the best. It's so good, guys.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to give, and this is totally up to you, because like I said, I'm hoping people that hear this then will like rush out and like, start the series or whatever. So I know you've said that there's a happily ever after. Is there anything you'd like drop in about any of the other books?
I want to first tell about the content warnings.
Okay. Yes.
And please, anyone listening to this is not a series for everyone. Book 1 especially is not for everyone. We do not want you to read this book unless you are up for it. And you can always choose to start with book 2 instead. Let's see. Scenes in book 1 include child abuse, sexual assault, torture, brainwashing, and institutional dehumanization. And we also have reference to past domestic violence that caused a miscarriage. And we want everyone to know none of these scenes are written for entertainment. They're part of a framework for a journey of love, healing, and recovery. Every book has a happily ever after or a happy for now. And that's guaranteed for the whole series. And the whole point of the series, we wanted to write a hurt comfort story to the max. For every ounce of hurt, there will be a pound of comfort down the line. So that's the promise we make to you. And also that you stop reading whenever you want to in book 1 and skip the next book if you want to. But yeah, please take care of yourself first.
Good.
And
That's
when
good.
you roll out of book 1, I'll keep it vague, but you get out of Free Camp and you realize that the trauma of book 1 doesn't go away.
Yes.
Obviously, we're not going to continue hurting Toby, aka Sam, but like he has suffered all of the things in the trigger warnings list, guys. And we show how that affects him when he gets out. It's not everything is great. It's, oh crap, all of that damage is carrying over into him starting this new life with Jake, aka Dean, and really looking at what that means for both of them.
Yeah, I do have quick descriptions, non-spoilery, for the next 2 books of the series. So book 2, Fear. So book 1 takes place over 11 years in the story, chronological story. The boys grow up over 11 years in book 1. Book 2 takes place over 1 month, just a single month.
Oh wow!
It's about as long as the first book, just 1 month.
Okay,
it's the first month of the boys together and their lives together. And yeah, as Bailey said, it does not go as well as Jake thinks it's going to go.
What a shock.
I wanted to, that was a little part of me that wanted to kind of just grab him by the lapels and shake him and be like, you can't just, baby.
It's not going to be this easy, dude. Yeah.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
But like in his defense, he's only 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's a baby. He is a baby.
Young.
Yeah.
And another story that didn't have, a concentration camp in it, he would be the person with the bad childhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very true. Very true.
So I love Fear, the second book in the series, so much. It's actually the book I'm proudest of. Bailey and I wrote book 1 together. She's responsible for the director. We did write Crusher together, but it's like some of the hardest to read scenes in book 1 came from her. And like I am in awe of her to this day. But I am proud of book 2 as my baby in a different way, although she did write something in every single chapter. It's a process. But book 2, you can tell what I love by the fact that I love this book, because it's just the everyday fallout. It's the PTSD, it's trauma recovery, it's just the little ways that everything goes wrong or goes right, and the little ways of them figuring out how to put their lives together. Oh God, I am not doing a good job to talk about this right now, but yeah, that's why I love book 2.
Okay.
And then book 3 it takes a little bit of a longer perspective. It covers the next 4 months. So at book 3, they leave their new hometown and they hit the roads. It's the road trip we all love in our hearts. And that's so. In book 2, they just figure out how to communicate at a very basic level. They figure out how to trust each other. So they have the barest bones. But Toby has 0 skills for handling the rest of the world. He has never been outside of free camp. I mean, not that he remembers.
Right.
Not since he was 5 years old. Now he's 16.
Yeah.
So he has 0 skills, and he's just terrified of everything in the world around him. But at least at the end of book 2, he and Jake have a level of trust that he can count on Jake. Okay. And in book 3, when Jake takes him out onto the road, that's when he starts building those skills of other people. He learns to how to just talk to them and be among them, and he can save his own butt when Jake gets drunk.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then as Toby builds his confidence in book 3, they fall into hunting. Jake's, his true calling calls him back. And it's, of course, a very difficult process because Toby's been brainwashed, and so he has to understand what actually counts as a monster that should be put down. And it's one that harms other people. It's one that's hurting people, not just someone for existing. But he is committed to that with Jake, and he wants to stop things that are hurting people. So book 3 is when he and Jake start hunting and also thinking about how they want to kiss each other.
You said slow burn and y'all meant it then.
Oh my God. Yep. Did we ever mean it?
Wow.
But I think that fanfic was a little faster of a burn, but also
it was, yeah.
The way the background and the assumptions you make going into it as a fan, that it was a little bit too creepy to keep as is.
Yeah, I had to slow the roll a bit. And it's worth it. It absolutely is worth it. And that's part of what's been the biggest hurdle for me with publishing the new series, because I'm keeping so much of it the same, but I am rewriting the romance arc timeline. And so I need to pace it out just right. Because I cannot that's just, I'm not going to screw it up first thing. So I'm going to take it long as it needs to figure out the right process for the boys, the right steps. But yeah, so that's just really, really hard, as you can imagine.
No, it sounds like the process from getting it from this, and then the slow burn aspect of it. I'm glad to hear that too. That, it does sound like your enjoyment of book 2 is the fact that they are just getting to know each other. They are just being together. And that's an important part of learning each other. And just breaking, he was already broken down so much that, how do you build that back up? That just doesn't happen overnight.
No.
Yeah. And the same thing with Jake too. I mean, he's his wide-eyed, I can save the world situation. I think funneling that into Toby, I think he's got to understand realistically what that's going to take. And I'm sure he's going to learn that in the books, one way or the other, whether he wants to or not. I wanted to kind of ask too, because we talked a little bit about it. It sounds like, but what is your collaborative writing style like? It sounds like you trade off, but like, do you trade off chapters? Do you trade off character POVs? Like, if you could talk about like how that came about, like how did you decide to do the things that you did in terms of like going from fanfic to this?
When we started, we thought about going character by character, but the problem was that I have a really strong Dean voice, but both of us wanted to write Sam, so that we threw that idea out really quick. So basically, our process was very in-depth and complicated, and I'd say fully integrated.
Okay.
Someone would write a first draft. So this might be as part of a scene. We would both like write whatever we wanted to. Eventually, we did start outlining chapters to make sure we were hitting all the points that we wanted and to kind of break up the scenes a little bit better. But we would write whatever we wanted. Then I would go through and do what I thought of as like my butchering run, where I would break all the bones apart and like arrange everything the way I liked it. And then Laura would come through and she would like make everything so much tighter, polish things, find better words, call out where it was still incoherent. I'm a human being where I get excited and then I drop verbs and then nothing makes sense. So we would trade that off and she'd bring in a lot of that nuance that, again, I'm really good with explosions and fight scenes. And I'm not always that emotional arc person.
Okay.
So we brought different strengths there. And we were doing all this, by the way, before Google Docs had the suggesting function.
Oh man.
Okay.
So I think we literally had a drink in celebration when that feature.
Oh my god, our lives just got 10% easier.
So talk about more like 50.
Yeah.
We were using Google Docs, and we would have a detailed color coding system for this is what I changed, and this is what I rewrote, and this was what I wrote to start, and this is what I think we should delete. Like, it was all color code driven.
Gotcha.
Wow.
And it was wild. So we'd write a first draft, I'd do a sweep, she'd do a sweep, and then we would send it to beta readers, and then that would come back and we would approve. So that was like our writing process for all 500,000 words.
Wow. Can you talk about your Dean voice? Because I love this, because I feel that I have a Dean voice. So can you talk about that? What does that mean to you?
That means that the way I was raised, my family is big into puns and jokes and commentary. And so that is kind of my lifeblood. For an example, a silly example is I have a series where the impala is a literal giant African deer because that impala pun, like it's an impala.
Yeah.
African deer impala. Like that's my sense of humor. I get a kick out of the puns and the wordplay and the sarcasm and like the swagger of Dean. So I think that's the vibes that
Gotcha.
And the one-liners.
Gotcha. And you did say too that you feel like relate to Dean a little bit more.
I do. I think so again, my parents were traveling entertainers. We grew up in I grew up in hotel rooms, and like the vehicle is where we live, and we're doing the job and we're getting out of town. Like that was my childhood. Again, without the terrible parenting trauma and monsters.
Right.
But which is a lot of things to take out. But so some of that, like I'm on the road, I'm meeting people, and then I'm leaving them. Like not the same way as Dean, but some of the vibes are there. Like I was homeschooled until high school. Like I was literally not in one place until like high school and college.
Okay.
Tired.
Wow. Yeah.
So a lot of that transition, and I joke, but it's legit true that I have a very difficult time remembering people's names because for that first 14 years of my life, I didn't need to remember your name.
Right. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, so that attachment kind of part of it. Yeah. Oh, that's
so glad Bailey talked about that. And I'll just say not to go into too much detail, but for other reasons, I didn't move around as much as Bailey did. It's really crazy to me. She didn't live in a house year round until high school.
That's wild.
That's my favorite Bailey fact, or one of my favorite Bailey facts. I have many favorite Bailey facts.
I house until I was 5. Like there was home base was grandparents' house.
Yeah. In comparison, I grew up with an abusive father who had custody of my brother and me. He was very controlling and isolating. We didn't move, but we changed schools we changed Christian schools every single year. He deliberately made sure we never had friends over. We couldn't go to anyone's houses. I never did any extracurriculars. He was a very specifically an isolating type of abuser. So that also, of course, I didn't get to form relationships that last. It was, it was very lonely, and it also left an imprint, as you can imagine.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, but what a gift though then to find each other in college and build this great bond.
It's so incredible.
That sounds yeah.
It's such an important friendship in my life.
Oh, I could tell. That's sweet. That's very sweet.
I love this for you guys.
Yeah. God, just talking to you guys just gives me so many more questions just about the story too in general. But I have
questions.
Yeah, we're going to let Kasey handle this part. So yes, Kasey, go.
Yeah, I had book/plot based questions as well that I kind of scraped together from my notes. So I'm gonna start with the most pressing one because this is the one that upset me the most. So the timeline in freak camps is in years, and I'm not great with years. As a concept of math, you give me days and months, and I'm all right. But years. So I need you to do the math for me. The little shapeshifter girl, Kayla, she's 7-ish when she arrives at the camp, and that would make her 8 the following year when she stops talking because of the rape by the guards.
That's correct. I'm sorry, that's correct.
That's okay. I know
it's horrible, but it is correct.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I spent a lot of time opening up the contents thing on my Kindle, going, and this was this, and then this year, and that makes them this. Wow.
There's a reason why I put the years with all the chapter titles for book 1. I wanted to make it track that way. And I will tell you as well, you have not seen the last of Kayla.
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping that we would see her again.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Good.
You have much more Kayla in the future.
She was cool. I was with her, but I was just, and I like the fact that it was you had this really visceral reaction, but she didn't stop being any less of a badass because of it.
Yeah. She's damaged, but she's still fighting.
Yeah.
And Toby cares about her more than he'll ever admit. He's trained not to admit that kind of thing. You would never show your weakness. It would put both himself and her in danger if anyone knew that they cared about each other. So that's what you do. So, I can't wait. I cannot wait, you guys. I have some great Kayla stuff and stories.
Yay! That's awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on any of it. So I probably should have led with that because now we're all low-key bummed out.
It's okay.
Should have saved that to the end. Yeah. So just kind of I guess maybe kind of inspirations for where it comes. I know you said that you guys sort of are looking at fanfics and going, oh, this is what I do with that, and this is how I would write that stuff. But it's kind of hard to get away from the Nazi concentration camp vibe of freak camp. So was that something that you you looked into, you researched, or was it just a general vibe?
Not for freak camp. I did in junior high. I got into a really deep Holocaust YA phase, where I started reading a ton of books until I read one that wasn't YA, and it scarred me, of course. And but that kind of got into my consciousness. I started, thinking about that kind of evil at a very young age. But actually, the parallel for freak camp is, the freaks facility is Guantanamo Bay. It's a very
right.
It's Guantanamo Bay, and everything that happens in the U.S. after our Liberty Wolf massacre, when the president is attacked. Everything that happens is modeled after 9/11 in the U.S. It's modeled after the Patriot Act, the Department of Homeland Security. Basically, our story it's not many things, but Freak Camp is also a story about what America does when it's scared.
Yeah.
Also,
that at that time I was reading about the Stanford prison experiment.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Rings bells. So a lot of that for just like the evil that people get enabled to do by societal pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like obsessed with what is evil. So
Yes.
if you look at all the guards and most of the characters, they're all shades of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like
There's so much. They're not. They're less human than the monsters. It's just. It's like it's crazy. Like and it's yeah.
Like my kind of knowledge, obviously 'cause I'm not from the US, obviously I'm aware of 9/11 and stuff, but it's one of my weird morbid special interests. But I don't know so much about the like what happened with your laws and your legislature and stuff like that afterwards. So my brain was like, oh, Nazis. Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
So
no, totally
interesting.
fair.
That's interesting. I said to Sandra yesterday when we sort of meet Jake and Toby right at the start, it gave me really big boy in the striped pajamas vibes.
Yeah. Yes.
Like hugely that like they didn't understand. Like, I mean, I know Jake understood, but it was that kind of like just a connection children to children with no real understanding of why one of them was on the other side of the fence kind of thing.
Yes. And I have seen that movie. It was years. I only seen it once as a teenager, I think. So yeah, for sure, we absorbed all of that. It was in our consciousness. But it is. I mean, it's humbling when people ask us how much research did we do, like for the psychological aspect of it, and like we just read a lot growing up, and we were 22 years old, and we just spilled onto us.
Yeah, that's it. You kind of a lot of stuff is absorbed. And I get that. I do get that. Sandra, because I'd mentioned the when I was talking about waiting for the gunshot at the end and that sort of Shawshank thing, Sandra had mentioned the Green Mile and that that real kind of like othering of they're not people, they're just, and that's not all the Green Mile, but there are certain people in the Green Mile that very much view the prisoners as that. So that was another kind of, was it somewhere you drew your inspiration from? Or is it just like the nature of the human condition?
I haven't seen the Green Mile. Have you, Bailey?
I have, but I don't think that was a major inspiration. One of the pieces that fascinates me and like I wanted to lean into as well was, like you said, the guards are the most monstrous things in Freak Camp, but also that challenge of but there are legitimately vampires there. Like there's very very few innocents. And I mean, there are innocents. There's the werewolves aren't necessarily there because they're terrible. And obviously there's Toby. But just this piece of like, what makes someone a monster when there are monsters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, vegetarian vampires. Like, no, they will rip your throat out. So like, who's the worst thing here? I don't know.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Stanford prison experiment. Are you familiar with that, Sandra? Do you know like?
Yeah, no, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I get that vibe much more than anything from Green Mile now that you've mentioned it. Yeah, that's what happens when you just give a little bit of power and everyone goes bug fuck nuts and you're like, oh, that's no, that wasn't what we thought was going to happen. Yeah.
I think for me with Green Mile, it had a lot to do with the like not knowing what the prisoner was capable of doing, and like that fear factor turning people into, you know what I mean, like that kind of part of it too. If you haven't ever read it, I mean, I'm a big Stephen King fan, so I really like that book too. So I mean, that's one
that might be the only Stephen King book I've read in its entirety.
I did like that one a lot.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to grab it.
Yeah.
If you were like me and you have no particular taste for King, the movie is fantastic.
Yeah, it is very good.
One of the ones I've always heard about, but again, my life, I'm going to be very clear, is nothing like Toby's. I mean, I just basically took my personal experiences, I multiplied them by 1,000, and then I gave them to Toby. So again, I just like, it's a microcosm, but one of the ways I did grow up, I didn't see many movies or TV shows, so I'm a little bit behind culturally. But yeah, I've heard good things about the Mile, and I'll check it out when I next see it on my streaming devices.
Yeah, it sits on there somewhere. It'll come back around in the summer or something. Yeah, it's around. It's around. Okay, this one's probably really niche because I started writing it down and I was like, I don't expect you to understand this, Sandra. But it really grabbed me. So the guard crusher, Elmer Sloan. The last name Sloan, is that a reference to anything? Is that
no?
No. Oh damn. There's
Bailey?
in the it's the Inheritance Cycle, but the book Aragon by Christopher something or other. I'll link
P?
it in the chat.
Something with a P.
It starts with a P. Yeah, that one. We're all like, that guy with the name
Yeah.
and the dragons. Yes, yes. There is a character in his first book, Aragon, called Sloane, who honestly, not quite the same, like, I torture children and rape them vibes, but really kind of like, I feel inferior and I'm going to make it everyone else's fucking problem vibes. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's a reference. So I had to write it down.
It was not. I've heard of Aragon. I have not read Aragon. Bailey, did you?
I've seen the movie, which
Yes.
That doesn't count. I'm
It's-
sorry.
I'm writing a hate novel based on that movie. Just so much cheese.
She does. She has a very good idea for a version of that story, much like we had a version for Freak Camp. Yeah. So no,
amazing.
That was not a particular inspiration. Sorry.
Well, you know what? If anyone else picks up on that reference, you have my full permission to be like, yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll
Thank you for noticing.
I'll sound
You
very
can
cool that way.
Love it.
You can claim that. And the last thing that I had written, and you kind of answered it, is when you were writing this, like when you were sort of either writing the OG fanfic or when you sort of like, did you start at the beginning? So did you start with Jake meeting Toby at the camp, or did you start like maybe where book 2 starts and sort of backfill it? And like is it a prequel?
No. We started with book 1. I was gonna say we started with the book that you read, book 1. I wrote the exact conversation, the first words that Jake and Toby say to each other. I wrote those words down on a spare piece of printer paper at the job I was temping at in October 2010. I still have that paper, and I'm going to show it off sometime because it has Sam and Dee's names in it. So, but Bailey, you have thoughts about why we chose to cover book 1 when most stories skip it and then do flashbacks.
We do. And a nitty gritty, like the original did have like a prelude that set the scene and like established basically the Liberty Wolf Massacre, which I don't remember what we called it at the time.
That's right.
It's like it established that we turned Nancy Reagan into a werewolf. Like we had an intro that was like, what's different? Mary had one kid, no other, and then we did a lot more about Toby has a mother figure, and we have had more of a chapter there. But as soon as the boys meet and after is pretty much exactly what we did right. So yes, we did not backfill the book 1, and the reason for that again is going back to those character A rescues character B stories. And again, I love them, I read them a lot, but there's always a point where character B and character A sit down and character B is like, hey, here's my terrible backstory. And flashbacks, and you get that thing. And honestly, I didn't think that Sam and Dean or Toby and Jake would be that good at communicating with each other. It's unrealistic for someone to sit down and be like, let me tell you about my trauma right now. And I'm articulate about it. So book 1 was very much written to be that trauma, and it enabled us, and that there's going to be tweaks going forward, but it really enabled us to have the boys never have that conversation. They never had to have an unrealistic, I'm going to just sit down and talk about my issues.
Which is not saying they'll never talk about any part of it.
Yes,
they do. They're just not going to have that one big, I will now tell you what happened to me.
Right.
that big exposition dump that leaves you going, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm looking forward to that exposition dump, but I also was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
No, I really liked it because I don't mind those big exposition dumps where it's like, and here are all the things that happened to me in order, and it was really sad. But I always find myself going, but what about this? Or what about that? Or it's always some really weird niche thing that wouldn't matter to most people. And I'm like, but I need to know. So
I'm with you, Kasey, 100%.
It's always really really stupid stuff. And I'm just
no, it's not.
No. So
it's the most important things.
yeah, I mean, having your first book be a real kind of baptism by fire and be like, if you can make it through this, you're golden for the rest of the series. Is going to be great.
Truly, it was truly a crazy choice. I'm glad I made my choice. I knew what I was doing, actually, and I stand by it. But yeah, any other writer trying to get published to start their career, do not do what I did. Do not make your first book the hardest to read.
You don't ever have to earn a reader's, or like, a book doesn't ever have to like making a book and the author separate entities, because there are authors that have lost my respect completely. Moving on. But like, kind of like, as a reader, you kind of feel like the payoff is a little bit sweeter, that you've gone through this really awful thing with your characters, and now they get good things and you get to be with them in the good things. Whereas sometimes if the bad things come at the end and then there's no room left for the good things afterwards, and you're like, well, this was just
supernatural.
So that was my plot question. So before I get on to my secret question, which I ask everybody, I pulled out my notepad because you were like, I want to know thoughts. So I will just read the what the fuck thoughts that I had.
Please.
So yeah, the Toby trading blowjobs for blankets broke my heart.
God. Yep.
I had to put the book down and be like, oh damn.
I know.
I'd written after that, the comparison to Sam is so strong at that point. Like I could really feel Sam's inspiration in Toby.
Yeah. I read similar stories and it just felt right and true to me. That's how it would play out. And because I am a Sam girl, I was just, very focused, and I could see this happening. I could see it all too clearly.
It's it's very common in those kind of situations. You trade what you have. It's the oldest profession in the world for a reason. But it didn't sit odd with me, but it made me feel odd, because seeing the more vulnerable character of Toby having to do it, I was like, no, but he is a baby.
Aww.
Where is his person? These are still horrible things, but there is a.
Let me tell you, the hardest part there were many hard parts of book one to work on. I think one of the places that I have the hardest time even thinking about or looking at, it's Toby's life in Freak Camp after Becca dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When he doesn't have her and Jake is only intermittently. That's like, I cannot think very hard about that, because I'll go into a black hole. So yeah, even though, oh my God, this book was so, I'm so glad I wrote this and published it. It took a lot out of me too. It took a lot.
I can imagine it's heavy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I started doing year math, and I was like, he is 13.
I know. Yeah, it's tough. It's super tough.
He's a baby.
They are babies.
Part of the reason I had to step back is that I primarily wrote the director, and just thinking about getting back into the headspace to do that character justice again was real rough.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And these were written as I was reading. So
please. I love these notes.
Kind of going to see a progression as we get through the story. The change in Toby from when we meet him as a little 6-year-old to the scene with the shapeshifter Hulk, where he just throws him across the table.
Yes.
And then, he's turning tricks for blankets, and that made my soul hurt.
I
was
know.
like, oh,
I know.
Baby, I want to just.
I know.
Baby.
He really is. He really is a baby. It's very sad.
Baby. And then, please not Tobias having been anally raped by 13, please.
No, he was not.
Various exclamation points. But then I read on and I was like, oh, thank goodness. I remember turning to my husband and showing him lines and being like, I think this kid has been raped. And my husband doesn't read, this would not be the kind of book he'd read, but he'd be like, God damn. And then I was like, no, it's okay. It's fine. That has been qualified. And then not too long after that, the Kayla thing came up. So I'm highlighting things, and I was like, it got so much fucking worse.
Yeah. And honestly, the first version Bailey and I wrote together of book one, I removed some of the worst scenes. It used to be a lot darker. Mm-hmm. It used to have worse scenes. And it was never, we didn't change what happened. He was never anally raped in book one, in the first version of book one either. But there were other bad scenes that happened, other really bad blowjobs. really disturbing thing
now that didn't fade to black originally.
Yes, there is. There's a scene in chapter 12 with all the guards, and we didn't. I faded to black in the version you read, and in the original version, we kept writing for a bit.
Yeah.
Evil. Yes.
So evil.
Well, I'm with Bailey. I quite like putting Sam in various awful places and being like, look at him.
You're not alone. You're not alone. But for publishing a story to sell to the public, I had to make some compromises.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, coming from somebody that, probably like for me, the implication of what happened was just as bad as if I had probably had to read it. So for me to know, to just get the hints or to get like the little one word, like just being in Toby's head and knowing, and just was just like a couple sentences, you knew stuff that had happened. And to me, that was just as powerful as if, you had written it, you'd written it out in detail and stuff.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. And there is weight to that. What you can't see is scarier. So what my brain can conjure up is happening is
there's a reason why good authors actually don't spell out every detail. Like they would never, there's reasons to show some graphic details, but you never ever want to show every single one of them because that's just it's not as polished and it's less effective, and you're going to burn the readers out. Like the torture of just the hints of details, letting them fill in the rest in their minds, it's quite effective.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, we had hurting over Toby's thoughts about making Jake dirty by proximity. I'm going to burn the whole camp down.
Oh yeah, I can't argue with you about that.
Yeah, I write my notes like I think. So I was like, I'm going to burn everything, all of it.
Seems legitimate. You'll have some help. People will help you out with that project.
Yeah. And then my next one was trying to do Kayla math and being like, was she 8? Was she? And that one made it into the document because I was like, Sandra, I need to know. Sandra.
Yeah.
And then the Sloan with the Aragon reference that made it into the book. And then Leon pulling the if you walk out, don't come back.
I know.
To Jake. Man, Well,
that was deliberately a mirror of what happened in canon, of course. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Bailey, do you want to say? I keep cutting you off, I think.
No, you're good. Just that I enjoyed writing John/Leon because I think he's not doing well as a parent, but he loves his kids, but he really failed at showing that in any practical way. And that's the kind of character that I enjoy writing a lot.
Yes.
I will say I found Leon marginally more sympathetic
than
John, actually, which I wasn't expecting. But then he was I was like, I'm kind of with you. Wait, what? And then it just all careened off a cliff at the end, and I was like, oh, fuck you, Leon. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's a beautiful arc for that.
Yeah. And then after that, I actually don't have any more notes because I read the rest of the book in one go, and I was like, no, I have to find out what happens immediately.
That's the only way to do it, I'm pretty sure. Either finish it or you throw it out the window and never look for me again, which I understand. I respect that.
Sandra had finished it, and it had got to Monday, and I hadn't even opened it. So I was like, I'm gonna have to I was timing chapters out because I've been really busy at work and stuff like that. Not because I didn't want to read it, but real life keeps intruding on my like hobbies, and I need to stop.
Isn't it rude? It's so rude.
So fucking rude though, isn't it? Like, go away. So I was like, okay, so I do like 2 chapters a day, and then I just like threw it all out the window by like Wednesday, and I was like, I have to fucking finish it. I have to consume it.
It's a huge compliment that you were able to read it that way, and that it didn't it was good to get through. And thank you for sticking through it. I'm so glad I got to the ending. And I loved it.
There was no gunshot. I really, really loved it. It's like the themes that are in it are the kind of things I do look for in books, but knowing that it was also going to be like, it's not all bad. It's going to be okay at the end.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, it was not for lack of interest or anything like that. It was just my work was like, there's overtime. And I was like, I'm
excited. I'm gonna get you book 2 straight away, both of you.
Thank you.
That'd be awesome. Because I think the thing that I really and because we were talking too, like about the whole this series, like putting a series together, right? To me, it just felt that you've got to end it on a sort of high note, but still leave everybody these little seeds of, I wonder, what does this mean? Is this gonna happen? Like, I've got so many questions about Toby.
Oh,
I'm
for
just
sure.
like, we just like so many questions about Toby. And then again, everything like you were talking about the trauma, but then what was the director's motive? Like, it's like there just feels like there's like a time bomb. Something's in there, something's waiting to happen. And again, like I was going off the rails with my conspiracy theories with Kasey yesterday.
Yeah. Sandra's like, I think it's this and I think it's that. And I'm like, I think we need to read the next book. But I was like, as an author as well and a reader, the director coming in at the end when you could sort of feel like Toby was setting the wheels in motion. No, he wasn't. Jake was setting the wheels in motion, and he was, he told Leon to fuck off, and he was getting his ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And then having the director come in and be like, well, you might get out, but you never really get out of freak camp. It was so fucking good to like ramp it back up. Because now I'm like, did the director know that Jake had put in the request? Is that why he did this? Or did this happen before that? And I have so many fucking questions.
Oh, yeah. The director knew. The director knew about the request.
Oh.
I mean, he wanted to make a perfect monster for his cousin,
Yes. It was a personal project. It was a gift that Jake does not appreciate. Zero disappointment. Director's like, I don't understand, Jake. I made this for you. Like, don't you like my gift?
I made this. It's a monkey with anxiety. I ruined it, but I made this for you. Like, why are you ungrateful? Oh wow.
Yeah. I took the boy you loved and I broke him really thoroughly.
Are you not grateful? Like big end of Gladiator vibes. Are you not entertained? Did this for you? Oh, we got to read the next book, Sandra. That's our mission.
Yeah,
that's our mission.
I really am like I'm so excited for you guys getting this next one coming out and getting to continue on the freak camp journey. Well, how did the series name, just out of curiosity, was that was it called Freak Camp, the fiction, the fanfic?
Yes.
Okay. So anything that like grabbed you by calling it a monster by any other name?
Oh, we came up with both of those titles.
Okay.
And again, this is one of the things where, like, if I were a more practical or focused author, I would have chosen different names, but the names are just so right for me. The names are just so true. I have a really beloved memory of myself in October 2010. Bailey was either going to Spain or already in Spain. And again, we were just out of college. I had my temp job where I was dashing down freak camp ideas, and I had a break where I could go for 15 minutes and we could call. And I called Bailey, and I was saying to her, I'm thinking a monster by any other name. How does that sound? Okay. And I love that memory very much. Anyway, it's an origin story.
Yay!
Yeah, it felt right because of the play on Shakespeare and the whole question, of course, what makes you a monster? What makes you human?
Yeah. To kind of like sort of put that back to Supernatural, the Benders in episode 1 in season 1
I love that
is one of my favorite episodes because the monsters, they're not monsters, they're humans. Humans are the real monster.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes up again and again in the show. That happens again and again and again.
Yeah, big vibes. But that's all my plot questions and thoughts. Sandra, did you have any?
No,
any
I mean,
I
really did. I think Kayla kind of stuck with me a lot too, because it's very interesting how she was adapting to try to like hide, but it not like really working. But then like, again, like her ability to try to like get out of her head, but then knowing that Toby couldn't at some point when everything was happening, like that part was being taken away from him with the director was very, very powerful. And very, very, also very sad. Keeping him in there, keeping him in all of that was just the director just needs to go like big time. Like this just needs to happen soon. So I'm like, I'm feeling there's a lot of like, again, little threads that, as I think good writers do in a series, like they might make you forget about something for a while, but then it comes up. And I have questions about Sally. I have all these questions that I feel like, I'm just wondering if there's going to be more that comes up later on. I'm interested in Roger. I want to see more of Roger because I love Bobby too. Bobby's like my favorite character. And I want to see more of that. But yeah, seeing Jake's vulnerability, because I feel like this is truly like, this is Toby's story and Jake is a part of it. But I think Jake is going to learn more about how to learn to love somebody, not just, it's so hard with Jake, right? Because I do see so much of Dean in him and seeing his purpose, his mission, and how is that translate over into this relationship with Toby. So I'm interested in seeing that part of it.
A note about Jake and Dean. I mean, they are the same until a certain point in canon when I think Dean becomes an asshole. or someone put it like a violent idiot with a superiority complex, which is a person that's a personal assessment, of course. Not everyone may agree with that,
right.
Some people see Dean that way in the last several seasons. Anyway, so I made some deliberate choices. So he's basically he's a better Jake Hawthorne is. Oh God, there was I had to bring this up because again, talking about the show that breaks your heart. There was a moment in season 5. I will never forget this. Dean was in a dark place, but there's a line that they wrote where he said, "On a good day, you kill a whore." And the moment, like we were writing for it. Yeah, we were still in college, but the moment I heard that, my brain immediately refused to accept that. Like, no, he didn't say that. There's no way he said that, because if he did, I can't stand this character anymore in this whole show. So, like, I deliberately chose at that moment to eject that from my canon headspace.
Yeah.
So, like, I love these characters. I believe in a Dean Winchester who would never fucking say that, So that's
my fan fictionist retcon brain says that Jake is Dean until like the unresolved trauma from going to
yeah.
Like
so,
again, unresolved trauma that he manifests in assholery and terribleness.
He gives me really big, like, early seasons Dean vibes where he's like, with, I can fix it. Whatever it is, he has the power to fix it just by, it's totally fine. He's got a gun and he's got his GED and a give him hell attitude.
He's Sammy's brother. He's going to take care of it.
And that's it. He's going to, it's going to be fine. He's going to fix it. I love that that's where Jake is. And I hope that he stays with that.
He's not going to have the experiences that Dean had that made him a worse person. And also, this is the promise I make to all Supernatural fans who might pick up Freak Camp. It is the story, but the differences are no angels, no demons, no deaths, no resurrections. And by no deaths, I mean the main characters don't die. Toby and Jake and Roger, aka Bobby. We're not killing off any of them. So that's something you can rest assured about when you pick up our story.
I have to ask this question. It's mandatory when guests come on now, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Freak Camp or Supernatural or writing or anything else. And it's in the doc, but you didn't see it because it's in secret question. Let's go with let's do Bailey first. Bailey, what is your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur. I heard this on the last podcast. I don't know if it counts as a dinosaur, but the Archaeopteryx. I think I might be pronouncing that wrong. The half bird, half dinosaur.
Yep.
I just think they're super cool and they have a cool name and they're birds and dinosaurs, which I suppose all birds are technically, but
yes.
I think they're awesome.
All birds are dinosaurs, but not all dinosaurs are birds. Awesome. Laura, what about you? This is becoming less fun now, people. Now I've asked this question enough that people know it's coming.
It's still fun because it gets me thinking about it. I took it very seriously when I heard you ask Chris. What am I gonna? And it got me thinking about dinosaurs. So yeah, I love this. And also, by the way, I'm gonna take Toby and Jake to a natural history museum and have them look at dinosaurs.
Yay!
Okay, my favorite dinosaur is a pterodactyl because wings and flying are fun, and I love the big sharp beak. And I think my third favorite is a brontosaurus, but I don't know what my second favorite is. So those are my answers.
No, keeping it open is good, because what if an unexpected dinosaur comes along and then now you've got a space for it? There you go. See, that's awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I don't mean that it's less fun to ask and talk about. I mean that I'm getting less confused silence when I ask it now.
Oh,
When I first started asking this question, I would just get like a good solid 15 seconds of silence, and then because adults don't ask. People stop asking what your favorite dinosaur is when you reach a certain age. Adults don't ask other adults enough. So I'm on a one-person mission to bring
I'm
it
glad
back.
you're bringing it back.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with about Free Camp, writing, anything in general, really quickly, just to like, round out this
Any
whole
words of wisdom?
great
I'll
interview
go
that we've had?
first. I'll go first. Always write, even if it's just for yourself, even if it's just for fandom. The best. I've been trying to read more original fiction than I've done in a very long time. As I became an author, I'm just astounded. The best writers are in fandom. No one it's so sad. Truly, the best writing, the best stories are in fandom. So keep writing if you want to write. Sharing your stories for the love of it is so valuable on its own. Freak Camp is a story about love, a term of recovery. It's not for everyone, but if you do want to check it out, look at the trigger warnings. Book 4 is out now. Book 5, Fire, will be the conclusion of this part of the series. It will come out next in 2025.
Awesome.
Thank you. And you can find out everything you want to know about it at freakcamp.com.
Awesome. Bailey.
Awesome.
It's a terrible thing to follow, but I'll say that thank you also to everyone who has read us, both in the fan fiction version and the original fiction version. There's nothing that keeps a writer going like those comments and that engagement, and just like seeing that a work can make an impact, even if it's like, that, hey, that was fun, or hey, this helped me reframe my trauma. Like, all of those comments just give an author life. And I think in this kind of how fandom is structured now, there's not a great place for that. I mean, a lot of decent places for that, but just a huge thank you to everyone who has read us, who in either format, and anyone who might pick us up here. Like, yeah, keep writing and keep reading. And I'm so grateful to all of that.
That all sounds awesome.
Amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. We don't want to keep you guys. It's been 2.5 hours. It's been great. We've totally enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us and sharing like this wonderful journey of the story. And I'm so glad we got to know a little bit more about the both of you as well. So I think it's been great.
Really fun. This was, again, I've been like in a really painful process finishing Fortress. So this is the most joy I've had in a long time.
Good. Thank you. We had a blast.
I love talking about fandom. I love talking about SPN. I love talking, with Bailey and Freak Camp. So this is a true joy. Thank you very much for hosting us and inviting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have to be somewhere in like an hour and a half. I'd be down for like keeping going.
No, thank you, Bailey. We appreciate the time. And like I said, I'll be in touch with you guys, and maybe we get to do something like this again soon. Like the next time the next book comes out, we could do that.
Yeah.
We can talk about all kinds of stuff: writing, fandom.
Awesome.
Self-publishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds
sweet.
awesome.
It was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was awesome.
That was really good. I had more of a blast than I expected to, so that was wonderful.
Yay.
Was wonderful. Any thoughts before wrapping up, or because I need
to consume the next book, knowing that it's only a month and it's the same length as Freak Camp. I'm like, oh my god, get me in those feels.
Yeah, there's going to be so much. There's going to be so much in there. Yeah, and I'm curious because I know they talked about the time frame for the third book. I'm curious about what does Fortress encompass? Like how much time? What do we like? All those things.
Yeah,
we had to let them go, but I'm also curious about like any of their like fanfic authors that they really love and stuff, because honestly, Kasey, I think they need to read Junkies.
I was really going to say that, but
I was going to say something and then it just didn't pop up. But
put it in an email.
I think we could put it in an email. I think they might enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah.
For
Laura
many reasons.
Bailey won't. Bailey, we're not gonna. Don't read Junkies because it's Wincest, and that's don't read Junkies. But I think Laura will.
Yeah. No, it was really good. No, I'm just
awesome.
I wish them all the best with the release of Fortress. And yeah, anybody who's listening, listen to what Laura said in terms of content, all that stuff. But if it's something, which I think it is for some of our listeners, I think it would be something that they would enjoy. Again, the first book is really hard.
It's heavy.
It makes me feel better knowing, and I know it was written in the notes and stuff, but knowing that it sounds like the worst is behind them. There's still going to be things they're going to have to deal with, but like that part was really, really a lot. So it's good to hear that.
I surprised myself by how difficult I found some of it to get through, because like Sandra knows the shit I read. But I think I think it probably had more to do with the fact that my eldest is 12. So, you know, like around the time that Toby, a lot of like things started to change for Toby, and the way he's being abused changes, lined up with like the age of my kid. And I was like, oh, fuck. And also, like, I defy anybody to do math, work out that a little girl is 8 and that is happening to her.
Yeah.
And not be like, fuck.
And I'm also just so like, I don't know if we would have been able to do it, but like when they got to a point, both Laura and Bailey, when they just no longer could go along with the ride that the show was taking them on, that they were able to be like, nope, I'm noping out of this. Making it my own. I don't need to, you know, like I'm always very interested in that aspect of, because I've heard it from a couple people. I think we've heard it from Ronnie as well. You know, like they just didn't finish it at a certain point because they were just like, no, you know, I think some things just didn't resonate, or they could not get beyond that part of the show. Talking about it, and
Laura being like, you know, it's like Mystery Spot. She's not wrong. You know, it's there's never, not that there's never any consequences, but there's just enough consequences to fuck shit up, but not enough that you can work through it. And then they go big reset. But those just enough consequences keep going, and every time you think, okay, this is too far, then they'll go, okay, big reset. You know, there's a new big bad that we have to team up. Like, yeah, I get it. And I have huge respect for Laura and Bailey both being able to go, you know what, this does not spark joy anymore. This is not my characters, this is not my story, but still hold a real true love for Supernatural and for Sam and Dean, which is so evident talking to them. Yeah, that was nice. I'm really glad we got the connection. So yeah, gotta thank Chris again for giving us the thank you, Chris, to get a chance to, you know, talk to Laura and Bailey about this thing, because again, something we knew nothing about because we had not been in the fandom. You know, like around the time, I think we were probably just getting into the fandom at the time they were like deciding to take, you know, they had to take it off, you know, like offline or lock it up or whatever. So you wouldn't have. It sounds like they're doing their thing, and we've got other stuff to read, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun. You know, I'm going to go and consume kitty chesters. Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah. That's good. I love the boys as little animals. Yeah. Maybe I'll write that one day. I probably will, but maybe. I guess we should wrap up though, because it has been a while. But yeah, no, big thanks to Laura, big thanks to Bailey. Go grab the books if there's something that you're interested in. Review, comment. Those are all important things for authors. The more reviews they get, the more eyeballs get seen. Algorithms like those things. So ratings, reviews. Shout about it on social media, Shout about it. All that good stuff. But we are going to wrap up this episode, and we're going to say thank you for listening. And we want to know what you thought of the episode. You can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website. That's idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers, and would love to have you along for the ride. Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. In the description below, we have the causes that we support. So from me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. And as always, the main causes that we are championing, highlighting, spotlighting, any other adjective that means to draw attention to, are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. Both of these charities are on the ground working in the Ukraine to help those still affected by Russia's unlawful invasion of the Ukraine, and in Gaza, which is still in the crossfire of the war between Israel and Hamas. This is not political. It does not matter which side of these issues you stand on. We are coming from a purely humanitarian view here. There are people in the Ukraine and Gaza that are trapped, cut off from basic human rights like food, water, and shelter, and they're dying. They didn't ask for war, and we want to help the people risking their lives to help them. If you cannot or do not want to donate financially, that's totally fine. Just sharing the links around social media helps massively to keep these issues in the public eye and get the people in need all the help we can. So with that, we will say thank you so much to Laura and Bailey for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.